Hey Chuck, no, I was watching the market and I thought, well, obviously they're having a little profit taking going on. I said, well, where will it end? Well, the numbers say it should end here at Genesis. Uh, and so if you look, and we'll do this in a little bit, but if you, well, why don't we go live market before we get into the slides? Let's do that real quick. I want to show everybody, what D-mini and the NASDAQ saying this time of day. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah, Tom, we got you. Your sound's coming through great.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, there was a Magic 5 today. It was posted in there. Yeah, it sure was. But what I want to show people, okay, and this is wonder why the three bars green.
Okay, so this happens from time to time. If you have the roadmap and your reference bars get toggled off for whatever reason, I don't know what does it, Tom, but it does from time to time. Right click on the chart, scroll over show, and just recheck show reference bar colors. So again, if you don't see your reference bars first, make sure you're on the 30-minute chart intraday. All right. And then right click, scroll over show, toggle back on show reference bar colors, and here we go.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess I've been lucky. I've never had that happen to me.
I don't know why it happens. It happens to me every so often. I don't know why it does.
I don't
A
know
lot
either.
of times, I'll tell you what it is. A lot of times there's a shortcut, a letter that you hit. And if you're typing something and you have your chart selected, you can sometimes do something a little bit magical to your chart. So,
Okay.
shortcut keys, make sure you got the right thing selected.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't use shortcut keys. Maybe that's why it's never happened to me.
Must be. Yeah, it must be.
All right. One thing that I guess, sort of want to show people what I look for. What I look for is the last two bars. And coming into 9:30 this morning, if you look at it, you had a higher high. Does everybody see that higher high? If you take the bar prior to 9:30 and the 9:30 bar on the S&P, everybody see that? Why don't you say yes if you see that, or he could put a circle around it where you can see where I'm pointing. Okay, well, that told me when we broke from 10 to 10:30, everybody see it break that number there? That told me that Genesis was setting up for a low period. That's what it told me. And the other thing it told me, if you look at the day's opening from last night, it was 57. So you had two things, clues saying, hey, the market is profit taking. And you know it pretty early. You're below the day's open on the mini, okay? And you have that lower bar. Then you have the other bar that comes that takes you down to the low of the day, and you got the current bar that's traded up to the high of the low of the day. So what we're looking for is for this bar here to go higher than the low of the day bar. And what's that number there, Jonathan? Can you tell us? The bar that made the low of the day?
On the
for the high of that bar.
It's 68.40. And Tom, just so you know, Western Digital just hit our target, and both TPP and our first target in the afterburner. So I'm going to step aside and let Chuck answer your questions and
sure.
I'll be back.
Go take that. Go put a profit on the board. WDC. That's our afterburner program. It's a 4-to-1 return. It's a little bit longer term trading. And anyway, that was great. That's super.
Definitely a great way to start out the day.
Yeah, especially in a market like this. All right. So anyway, but does everybody see what I'm talking about? So the market told me early on, below the day's open and below RB3, stand pat on trying to buy things in the market. Does everybody understand that? That's a very important sign. Now, if you look at, let's go look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ was even clearer, lower, lower. And does everybody see that top of NASDAQ right there? Even if the S&P goes slightly higher, when you reverse a low like this, you need to get the NASDAQ above that number also. So the things you're looking for, it could keep going down during Genesis, but the things you're looking for is what would tell you had a turnaround in an upward market. The reason I say it's an upward market is because if you go back and look at where we opened the week at, and that was, I think, 67, 78, something like that, if I remember. And we're
60.
trading up here at 68.37. It's just profit taking. Does everybody understand? I consider this profit taking.
Yeah, Tom, open of the week in the S&P 67.88. Obviously, we're above that at 68.37.
Yeah.
Open of the week in the NASDAQ 25.320.75. We're above that at 25.514. So I agree with you. Definitely profit taking.
So it's profit taking, not a sell-off, which means it's an opportunity. And so you've got some real stats in your favor. One of those stats is what happens during Genesis. If Genesis hypothetically turns out to be positive, just like yesterday, buying is going to step in and we're going to go higher. Does everybody understand what I'm showing? It's very rare I get to show this to you in such graphic form. And all this goes to the sidelines if Genesis turns into being a continuation short. Then we go a lot lower. Everybody acknowledges they see the picture that's being painted. So the one factor you have on your time or have on your side is time. Hey, we don't have to guess. After 12, we got our answer, right? And that's what I wait for during these periods where you got it counter trending. You can go broke trying to buy it, even though you think I'm going to buy it and hold on to it. It gets pretty brutal. Okay, so that's on the E-mini and on the NASDAQ. Okay, now you just got a new high over here on the SPY. Everybody see that? And for the SPY to turn really bullish, you got to take out the top of RB3, which is what, about 53, Chuck, 54, something like that.
Top of RB3 in the S&P is 68.52.
Yeah, you get higher than that, then you can start being aggressive because the NASDAQ should pull higher also. The Dow is already there. If you looked at the Dow is, the last, sort of the stepchild of trading. It's catching up a little bit to yesterday. And it always leads people, or it's a follower rather than a leader. That's the point I want to cover in live markets. Now let's put, just for the fun of, put NVIDIA in there, and I'm going to tell you what I think on NVIDIA. You take any one of those charts. Let's start out with the daily, Chuck. Start out with the daily. All right, if you look at the daily, last night we went up to 199, okay? Now, if you take the high and the low of NVIDIA on the daily, let's just do some math here. What's that, about 178 area to 210? That's 22 points plus 10, 32 points, about 16 points. So as long as I think we're above 185, the midpoint, NVIDIA is still in upward motion. Now, short term, if you look over at the 30-minute, once you put the 30-minute on the right-hand side, you're still looking for a higher high bar. You don't have it yet. And then you really need it to go above 195. That's your number on NVIDIA, okay? 195. Gets above 195, we're back in the driver's seat. Now I'm talking about new positions, that kind of stuff, okay? Now that can change if we stay down to RB4 or whatever, but 185 is Uh, 185 is really the sort of the pivotal area for NVIDIA. Now, yesterday, this is what impressed me with NVIDIA. They sold SoftBank sold 5.8% of the stock, and 5.8% is what they sold. Think about that, okay? 5.8% in the stock. Even last night, 8 or 9 o'clock was pushing 200. Very impressive. And then the other thing I mentioned in T-Buzz TV, Citibank came out and said NVIDIA was going to 720. And I hadn't read the report. They just threw that headline number out there. And I'm thinking, man, if they're half right, we're going to make a lot of money. My next stop is 220 to 210. My next stop prior to earnings, November 19th. But anyway, I want to show you NVIDIA. Let's go to our slides now. Let's go to our slides.
All right, right now, let's see. Jonathan, do you need me to take over the slides?
I'm back, Chuck. Thank you.
You're back. Okay.
All right, folks, welcome to Train and Trade. There's a high degree of risk involved in trading. Past performance is not indicative of future results. In my opinion, market's been a bull run here in November, and we just need to clear the monthly open, get above that 6,900. That was my call this week. I thought we'd get there. Didn't know how that was going to happen, but I do think that it will happen. The question is before Friday. So if we get that going, it should be a pretty decent week when you sit back and think of things. Okay. All right, what I want to do each day, I want to take a piece of what I did yesterday and talk about the different features and my special take on the different tools inside the roadmap. And this is called building your custom page watch list, train and trade. The reason I think this is important because I'm about taking as few steps as possible to get to a conclusion, whether it be long or short, okay? And the custom page is built in such a way that it comes off the factory one way, but I do it another way, and I want to go through that from the start. So once you get into the roadmap, you got nothing to look at but the frame in the custom page. You've got to build a custom page. Under tables, custom is what you click. And by clicking that, it brings up a way to enter what I would call different things that make what I call the perfect custom page. So everybody ought to be able to know how to do that once they get into the roadmap. Custom page under tables. Now, if you look, there's certain features for tape reading. And the opening price usually goes gets one column. You can move it around, but it's a key number. It tells me last night we opened at 68.57. See how important that is today? That 68.57, making a judgment not to be buying. That's why I like it. Then you look at RB2, RB3, which opened at 68.42. 68.42. We've been below that all the way down to a low of, actually went to a low of 30. And then it gives the basic change. And then you work your way across the board on the custom page. And are we going to go to the next page? Anybody there?
Tom, you should be seeing the custom page right now.
Yeah, but I want to go to the other features on the custom page that I have. That was the purpose of this. So,
Okay. Jonathan, are you here? Do we need to?
let's go back to the start if he's not in tune.
There we
Yeah,
go.
no, I'm here, Tom. What are you looking for next? You didn't look at the slides earlier, so I might have missed something, and that's my apologies. But what do you want next?
Well, let's go back and start all over because I want to try to make a tape that I can use. I can't use this now. So let's go back to the previous slide.
We're gonna have to add slides to it. So what do you want after this
All right,
slide?
here's what I want. I want to have RB open. I want to have the open and the change. I want to have the high and low, and I want to have the mid.
We can do that. Just need to give me a moment to get that done.
Meanwhile, while he's working on that, Tom, we moved above the RB3
I'm watching
open.
it, Chuck. I'm not trading right now. I'm watching. This is more important because if people have the roadmap set up the way I've got it set up, they're going to be more profitable and make more money. That's why I'm trying to focus on it, okay? Because it's something that I really want to emphasize the importance of it, okay? And I'll tell you, after we get it laid out for everybody, then each of these have a very powerful, what I would call use in trading.
All right, Tom. So we got the first part of your custom page. We pan over to the next part.
Okay. And then why don't we demonstrate how to add a column and choose these different column titles? Have a slide for that. You can put that before I even get to talking about the columns. And sorry, folks, I'm just trying to give you something that you could have a tape of, that you could go back and set yours that way if you so choose. Because I meet a lot of people in the face-to-face classes and one-on-one. They don't have it set up properly to take advantage of what the great feature it is to get you on the right side of the market. So I want you to have that. And that's the reason I'm taking time to do it, okay? So why don't we go back prior to this slide and say, here's how you change your columns, because it's not coming that way out of the factory. It will if you take Tom Simple down, but I want to know how to do it. Okay. That should get us through it, I think. Jonathan, go back to your main page that kicks it off, and we'll just start taping from there if we can. All right. All right, folks, let's try to do this. Let's try to do this again. Folks, welcome to Roadmap to the Markets, building the custom page watch list. By doing that, we're able to have some key data throughout the 24-hour period. And I want to just take the time and show you how I have mine personally. And after all these years, I challenge anybody to say they got a better custom page than me, because it's pretty good, because I use it all the time. I can be doing presentations and look up and see it and know what to do and how to do it. So that makes me pretty happy to do that. Now, the custom page is a watch list feature inside the Roadmap software. You go to tables and you just click custom and it comes up. Now, the next thing that you got to do is be able to have the columns that you need. I want you to write these down, because this is what you need. You need the last, you need the RB open, the chain, the open, high, low, and mid. And if you look at this right here on this one, we got the open, RB open, last, and change. But if you look at that, that opening becomes very important. It tells you where the S&P opened, like today, last night, and this would have helped you avoid trying to buy what I would call early. And that is something very important. You don't want to anticipate, you want to be above those opening prices. Now, the RB open deals with where we were at 9:30 this morning. That's the last reference bar as we're doing this. And then the change tells us how much we're down at the time we took this picture. But does everybody understand? These are the columns, the ones I named, that you ought to have on your custom page. Each of them has significance when they're compared to each other. The RB open is our reference bar current open. So if I need to know where NVIDIA opened at 9:30, I can look right here at that time of day and it will tell me, as an example. Okay, the next slide, please. Now, if you look, I always keep the high and low there, okay? Notice the high last night, this tells me the high last night for E-mini was 67, and it tells me the low last night or today was 68.30. And it calculates for me today's midpoint right there. So 48 or 48.75 would tell me when the market goes from bearish to bullish or bullish to bearish. And then I like to have the 5-day midpoint, which takes the high and low for the last 5 days, and tell me, really, what is the market telling me today? I made a statement today. I thought it was profit taking. I think I'm going to prove out that I was correct, because it is profit taking if you look at it. And if you look at the different markets, it gives you a clue. For example, notice Apple, okay, right there had a high of 274.74, where if you would have been watching Apple this morning, say you're into Apple, right? You would have looked up there and said that 272.73 was the RB open. You're up $2 to that high this morning as it was making high. The value of having it set up this way, everything across there on your custom page will give you the key information at any time you look at it. Now, it's simple to set up, but you have to have it set up right to get the right view. Again, these features can be added to your custom page from the factory, we call it, and then you got all the information I'm looking at up here to make decisions. Is there any questions anybody has for what I showed you? And there's the full picture. I take a picture of that and emulate this. It tells me that the Dow is strong. It tells me that my highs and lows are in place, 30 and 67. And it gives me ideas of when I look at Apple, for example, it's pushing near its high. Lets me know Apple's a mover. Okay? This is how you use it. Any questions at all? Ask them, because I wanted to cover this today. I wanted to stop the recording where you could have this to go back and review it. Okay? And if you get Tom Simple, you will have this set up if you get Tom Simple. But if you want to expand it or put it on different things, I think you'll be happy about that that makes sense.
Okay, recording is stopped. Got a few more slides we can cover.
Okay.
Bunch of unique data points we can bring in with the custom page is what the purpose of the next few slides are.
Yeah, you can put this on another page inside the roadmap if you want to flip over and check. Okay. You definitely could do that.
How many platforms are bringing the prior week's high and low? Not many that I know of. You can get a 5-day high and low rolling average, I think, on a lot of platforms, but prior week high and low probably can't get much anywhere else. That's why this slide's there. There's your mid, 5-day mid. There's also net open percent and net open instead of the change or the percent change from the prior day's close. That's also unique to DTI and not most of your platforms. All right, so here's reasons why we track the open and not the closes. No, Roz, we just wanted the recording on that first part. Thank you for asking, though. We are live on YouTube, so we'll get all this on YouTube if you want to catch it in a full review.
And I guess, why do we track the markets from the open? Because every time frame you look at, everything's measured by the opening. For example, if I asked you right now and you say I'm long NVIDIA, you're going to tell me you're up or down based on where you open that position. All traders use the open, not the close, when they're talking about the stock. And I picked up on this many years ago. It's a key insight to know. That's how people judge whether the market's up or down, depending on if they're making money or losing money. Now, how many times you bought a stock after it gaps up to only watch it trade back down to the open? This is known as what is a gap fill, okay? And that happens quite often, especially on the liquid stocks. The open is always reliable at the same time every day. And again, for stocks, it's different than it is for futures. Futures open at 6 o'clock at night, the previous night, or 1800 military time. And stocks open at 9:30. That's the cash open, or what we call RB3. If you want to, get a copy of the roadmap and have it work for you, we currently have it have you able to be set up, and we got the new retirement calendar dates on the calendar this week inside there. Call 904-706-3532 to talk to anyone that's interested about doing that. Now, is Adam back?
Tom Adams in here, but I think he's looks like he might be in a meeting, some other meeting going on.
Okay.
With the company is my guess. What you need?
No, nothing. I need to talk to him. That's all. Okay. Let's go to the live roadmap, review the seven systems and how they stand relative to FTI algo Monday. Okay, John, why don't we do that real quick?
Yeah, another feature we'll talk soon about on one of these sessions is a trade tracker, but we'll just show it for now. And I'll highlight the first 3-day columns right here and the Monday high and low columns right here. Red means we're below it. Green means we're above it. On these data points, you can see we're stuck in between both the 3-day high and the Monday high and low. So on a weekly basis, above 68.65, that's about 30 points from here, would throw the market more in a buy position.
Well, what does it mean to you as a trader? And should you be looking for? Okay. Now, you have to determine, are we in a bull market or bear market? Let's go back to the yearly open. We're in a bull market. I'll just make it simple. We're a lot higher than where we opened the year. Are we bullish at the current time period? Well, you base that on the monthly open. And the monthly open right now is 68.80. Let's just call it that. It's close to it. We're slightly below it. I call it in the noise zone, which allows you to take positions to the long side, especially if you're above the weekly open. And the weekly open for the market right now, if you look at where we opened the week, we're up quite a bit on a Monday. And so what I'm looking for, there it is, 67.88. What I'm looking for is aggressive plays that are positive. And we did a trade today, like we mentioned on WDC, right, Jonathan? WDC. And so WDC, if you look at it, just put it in the tracker. Can you do that real quick, WDC? It opened at what, 170 roughly? And 171 was its daily open, and last trade's 176. The 3-day high is 165. The reason we bought this stock, even though the general market was still trying to decide, is look at it relative to the general market. It is just scooting. And today, today we went as high as 178, right? But we caught it early and made some nice change with WDC. And so, and I think Jonathan highlighted the fact we keep that in our afterburner program. It's a little bit longer term trade, but the value of the roadmap got us there because we can do that with any stock that sets up. Look at Apple. Apple right now is moving higher in a market that's not going up. That's called divergence. And it makes it pretty powerful when it starts diverging like Apple diverging. In fact, Jonathan, didn't we use Apple in a power program today?
We did, and we're staying patient. If it can trigger, we'll get in.
Yeah, and we had a trigger price to get in. We hadn't got in yet, but the whole point is it made the cut to go into our power program, just as an example. But looking at the roadmap tool, Trade Tracker being one that I use it probably more on the weekend to set up my week, because I like to go through and look at all these numbers and decide what the market's telling me to do. Pretty good stuff.
Yes, it is. Just gotta know they're there, which is what we're doing here with this series.
Right. Now, are we out of slides?
Yep, that's the end. Yep.
Okay, let's go back to the live market. We're approaching Genesis and see exactly what Genesis is trying to say. Okay, folks, you take the high of Genesis or RB3. Here's this question was asked by Fred. How do you know if it's making a low or high? You take the high of RB3 and you make a low at the other end, which we did. Then you say Genesis is trying to make a low. And then you take the numbers that make the low, and if it breaks that low, it tells you that we've got a continuation move. If it goes above the high of RB3, which is up there, what, at 57, 53 right there, 53, it's telling us that Genesis is making a low, and now we got something to trade off of for SPX and other things, okay? Does everybody see that? Always go to RB3, take the high and draw a line and say, was this a high or low for the day you're in? Is that pretty good? Everybody see why I'm saying it's trying to make a low? Hadn't done it yet, but that's what the market's trying to tell us. Now, if it breaks this low, when are we going to know? I don't know right now. I'm just telling you what the market's telling me, but when are we going to know that the market's made a low? When it takes out the RB3 high. This is the power of Genesis putting it with RB3. Any questions about that? And that's a great question. David said, if it stays in the middle, you just got to be patient and wait to the next RB. Absolutely. The next RB after Genesis is what number? RB4, which will be live this afternoon. Okay, Jonathan, that's about what I want to cover on the Genesis and looking at this. What's next?
I've got a stream that Adam gave me about the roadmap software, which we can play at any time. Tom?
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we take about time wise? We just started Genesis now. Why don't we take about a 10-minute break? Come leave this up here and let's see where we are right at the halfway point of Genesis before we do anything.
Okay, sounds good. 10 minutes. I'll put a clock up.
All right, folks, and let's just let's look at this right here. We've got the way I analyze it. I look at the high and low of this morning, which is the low was down for the S&P. To give it to you, the low was 30.50, and the high of the S&P was at 52. So 30 to 50 would tell me above 42, and I use 42 because that was the RB3 opening. The market is leading itself to make a low during Genesis. Now, what's missing is you need the bar after Genesis to be higher, and since the bar higher than or the bar prior to Genesis is up about 49, it seems to me if we get above 53, 55 area, we're going a lot higher. Okay, which would bring about a trade in my SPX/XSP that I'll be doing sometime after I confirm that we've seen the low of the day. Okay, that's what I'm looking at right now. Now, if you look at a couple stocks, that WDZ, Western Digital, look at it, take a look at it. It is really done well. WDZ, I can't say it, WDC. Look at that. If it turns into a Genesis, this headed to that target. What's that target up there, Jonathan? 180.25 area?
Yep, that's it.
That'd be a heck of a day, wouldn't it?
If that happens, we'll probably hit our second target in Afterburner today.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And the Afterburner program, folks, gives you a 4-to-1 if you look at it. And if you got an account that's down, you could get in that program, bring it back. It's a little slower, but it's pretty accurate, the Afterburner program. So it's a pretty good move. But anyway, I want to come back on here. I think what we'll do is go on and play the link, Jonathan, on the roadmap, and I'll see everybody at 4:30. Before I do that, Jonathan, can you do a poll, see who has the roadmap and who doesn't? Just a simple yes or no?
Yeah. Yep, you can do that. Just give me a moment.
And the reason I'm asking to do these polls, I'm trying to see how saturated we are in the people that are here,
Let's see. I'm not seeing the poll like I did yesterday. I wonder if the settings for this Zoom session are different than what we had in the other one, Tom.
I have no clue.
I'd have to go check on that because I'm not seeing the same look. Let me.
Why don't you check on it? Because I'm watching the market and I might be able to add something before we get going.